What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 2 of the Throwing Strikes podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. If you're listening on Spotify, Stitcher, whatever else podcast network has this, I'm in a couple. But pleased to be joined here with utility player for UCSD, formerly of University of
It's S,
Oregon.
it's SDSU.
SDSU, yeah. Yeah, that's the only place where I spelled it wrong.
No, you're good. You're good.
Formerly of University of Oregon and Mater Dei High School in the Santa Ana area, Maxwell Foxcroft. So, Max, how are you doing today? What's going
Doing
on with
good.
you?
Doing great. Living my life in quarantine, getting my workouts in. I'm in finals week, so I finished my first of 3 finals. So I got 2 more left, and now I'm on to take some summer classes and work towards finishing my major. So
Awesome. So I caught you in between.
Yeah, perfect.
So you kind of touched on this, but times are weird right now, and we're pretty limited on what we're allowed to do during this pandemic, and there's a ton of uncertainty. So how is your quarantine going? Has there been any specific things that you've kind of picked up on, some new hobbies? What's going on with you during this time?
It was for everyone else. It was first of all, it was a shock and just came out of nowhere. It was a domino effect. It started from the NBA with Rudy Gobert getting in, and then next, the next day at 12 o'clock, we're done and all seasons are canceled. And so, it was, first of all, it was crazy. And then to come home and it was like going back to my roots. It's whenever I'm home, I have my certain place I'll go work out. And so I kind of just tap back into my, just like me being at home kind of deal, put myself in that mental situation. And just been working out. So, my schedule's been a little here and there kind of with classes and just transformation and with everything online. So, I'll usually work out in the morning, afternoon, and then I'll finish the night with hitting or lifting. So, kind of like I try keeping as close to regular as I was at San Diego State as possible. My class in the morning, maybe lift before, then lunch, practice when I'll go do my workout stuff in the normal slotted time. So try keeping it as structured as possible, honestly. It's just the best way to do it. Stay on top of things.
So as a baseball player and as any kind of athlete on a team, it must kill you not to be playing right now, not to have your teammates beside you 24/7, because you get to know these guys on a personal level. So it must be really hard not being around them. So touch on that for a sec.
Yeah. So, since I transferred to San Diego State and I got in 2 days after the spring term started, so I was getting to know these guys right off the bat. I was jumping to school. I was being out of practice. I was picking up on these guys. But what's crazy is how great Southern California is and just California baseball and travel these days. I knew so many of these players that before even going there. And right when I got on campus, I got guys hitting me up like, oh my, like, dude, like, remember we used to play this, we used to play here. Like, that was a day, like, stuff like that. It was crazy. That's the difference is I was at Oregon and we had a lot of California kids, but again, we had some Trinity League kids. We had some kids I played against, and then there's kids from NorCal, and there's also guys from Oregon, Washington. So, but the difference is when I got there, I got close, and it was a family right away. They're brothers. They brought me in and helped me out through everything, whether it was class, in the weight room, kind of things going on in the weight room, how things work. They're always there for me, and it's tough. I was in San Diego the other day. I went back. I had to grab some more clothes, and one of my roommates is staying there, and it was tough. We talked for hours, and I ended up staying the night there and having dinner with them. But it was crazy because it's just something happens out of nowhere that we are completely out of control of, and even our head coaches and my buddies that are playing other colleges, even every head coach is just there. It's not in their control anymore. It's past that. So it's tough. I miss the guys. There's nothing like getting on the field, get in the locker room with them. And that's one of the Zoom meetings that we've had before we started finals when we can't meet, is we were talking about how tough it is just not being with each other. You know what I mean? So, it's just hard time, but it's going to make everyone tougher. I think by the end it'll make everyone tougher, and everyone's going to be even more hungry and motivated to go back. Because again, you got you, me, so many other sports, every sport. It's just not baseball at the end of the day. It's a world thing. So, yeah.
100%. So you kind of mentioned lifting and hitting. So you've been able to do all that stuff. You've had the time. So take me through some of the baseball activity that you've done during this time.
So, I just had a 7x7 little screen to hit into. That's when I got back. I just had that in my house, just growing up, and started hitting that. And then we didn't know how long everything was going to go, so I didn't want to jump ahead and try and maybe buy weights because I didn't have really any accessibility to weights. And then kind of went on OfferUp, found some weights. So got some weights that I use when I lift, and then I had the 7x7 for about a month. And then once I realized it was going to be a little bit longer, I ended up buying a 22-foot cage and setting it up at my aunt and uncle's house about 20 minutes away from here. So I'll go work out, and then I'll just drive over there and go hit. And so that's kind of what I got for live. There's another place I go to with one of my old teammates, Tanner Smith at Oregon. He played at Servi too. He's in the Trinity League. So we've known each other since we were 10 years old and grew up in the same city. So he's got a place that he knows a guy that has a full setup, full cage and machine. So try going down there as much as possible. And then also in my little shack I got. So it's kind of using what I got and reaching out to friends and see if they have any connections. So, I mean, that's kind of what's coming down to at this point. Like, there's a trainer that so our San Diego State trainer has been giving us workouts we go through. And then I also worked out with a trainer named Josh Wright. And I started with him when I was like 11, 12 years old, just when he was doing kind of team stuff, like travel team stuff. And then I started working out with him again today. So that's kind of been I've been doing that workout now, and plus our trainers workout. But again, like I go, and then for the timetable part and having time for stuff, I would say, yeah, again, I try keeping it just as structural as possible. Cause again, SDSU did a really, really good job of transferring everything to online. So everything stayed the same. If I have tutoring at 10 a.m. on a Monday, my tutoring is still there. It was just online. So again, I just try structuring everything and keeping it just as similar as possible, just like I'm at school. And so all the time, just work out.
So you kind of touched on this, but coming through the Santa Ana area, there's a ton of rich baseball talent, like you mentioned. What is the competition like in that area? And how strong is the talent that's down there?
It's Southern California is a different breed. I mean, it's you hear this when I started playing travel ball when I was 11, 12 years old. That's when you start hearing the hotbeds of travel ball and all this stuff, and all these teams in California are playing travel ball. And so it really started at a younger age for me, because I got out of Little League a little bit earlier, because I wanted to be able to play other players. And just that's when I really found myself at a point where I figured out that I want to take baseball and run with it. I want to play it. I want to take it as far as I possibly can. So that's kind of my little spiel on my side of it. But from the competition side of it, it's different. That's what so my home high school, I went to Mater Dei is a private school, but I went to middle school at 7th and 8th grade at my local middle school and did like some of the baseball stuff they had going on there. But I had a buddy that played basketball. He actually played basketball at Oregon and Pepperdine after Mater Dei, but he was the one that he went to Mater Dei 2 years before me. And I went and watched his first basketball game there, and it was beautiful. I mean, the school was unreal. I got to meet the basketball coach. I got to meet the baseball coach, because I ended up going to camp later and I loved it. I fell in love with the school. And so that's how I got there. And then once I only heard about the Trinity League is strongest, Trinity League strong. That's where you want to be if you want to get to the next level. This is the best preparation. And I love Mater Dei as a school, and then plus the side of hearing about how good the talent is in the Trinity League. That really pushed me to go there. And when I got, it was unreal. I mean, look, we have so many guys. You have in my senior year, we had Cole Wynn go in the draft, who was transferred into Orange Lutheran, ended up going the first round. Matt McClain, Southern California kid. He went first round, and the first round didn't end up signing. But the talent here is crazy, and that's I think it goes to say that's for Arizona, Florida, just hot where its weather is different, where you could play baseball 10 to 12 months out of the year. Is I think that's what really helps everyone build as a player is weather. So I mean, that's what kind of the competition where I see it as. You see a lot of guys in Trinity League in Southern California in these conferences. In San Diego, you see them just start climbing up, and you see them start going to college, and you see guys start doing really well in college. And it's weird because life goes by real quick, and you'll see a guy that was a freshman, he was a senior in high school at the time, and now he's almost in the big leagues or moving his way up. So it's crazy to see the talent just rise, and especially guys that I've been playing with for a while. just kind of keep growing. So
your high school Mater Dei it's like a 10-minute drive, right, from Angel Stadium, 15 minutes
yeah.
from Disneyland. So is your allegiance as a kid growing up towards the Halos? Are you a Dodger guy? I guess the Padres would be an acceptable
No
answer.
Dodgers. I'm an Angels fan. My dad's company, we have season tickets, and I've been since I could remember, and we've been going again since I could remember. So I kind of grew up an Angels fan, and my dad loved the Angels. He was actually at Game 7 of the 2002 World Series when they won it. So and I was 3 years old, 2.5, 3. So my dad's always been an Angels fan. My mom grew up in LA, and my grandpa's a Dodgers fan. So it was in the beginning, it was a little torn, but I mean, I'm close. We always go to Angels games. And how can you not like Mike Trout now? I mean,
That was my next question. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
So
exactly. That's what watching him is crazy. And growing up, being able to last 6, 7 years as an Angels fan, it's crazy.
Yeah, led me right into the next question. So, how great is it watching Mike Trout every day? Obviously, they call him modern day Mickey Mantle. If you look at the WAR and all that, if he retires today, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. How special has that been to get kind of the front row seat of watching Mike Trout?
Yeah, it's special. I mean, I just got the chills talking about it. I mean, I'm a huge Mike Trout fan on and off the field, so it's been really cool to watch. And you could go to a game and you are going to see something special that night, whether it's robbing a homer, making crazy plays, hitting knocks, driving in runs, winning games. It's special, and it's crazy how you could see one player really help a team. And I know the Angels need a lot of help, but they got a real good player and as a franchise piece. So it's really cool to watch him.
Absolutely.
Inspirational. Yeah.
So in the summer before your junior year, I think I got that right. You played for the Perfect Game, underclassman, All-American. So I'd imagine that's pretty much a big chance for you to get your feet wet in terms of big-time talent. So what was that experience like with Perfect Game?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, I always did a lot of tournaments. My thing is I love the game, so I just played as much as I possibly can. Still this day, whenever there's an opportunity that league under the NCAA rules I'm allowed to play, whether it's stickball or something. I mean, I've always loved playing. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's easier, I would say, for me. And can you reiterate that question? I got lost just talking.
Yeah. So what was the experience like? Perfect Game in that tournament?
Sorry. So what's actually kind of crazy about that is there's a lot of kids in Southern California that were from there. And there's also kids from Arizona pulling all around, right? But there's a lot of kids on my specific team for the Perfect Game that I knew. And it was like a lot of my buddies. One of my outfield buddies that's at Stanford from Mater Dei, Grant Burton, he was on that team. Emilio Rosas, he's an infielder. He was my shortstop in high school at Mater Dei. He's at USC. He was on that team. Matt McClain was on that team. It was a stacked team, and it was a really, really good experience to kind of bond with a lot of these guys. And some maybe I played against, and some I didn't. Maybe I built a relationship with, and maybe I didn't. Maybe it was just what's up during the field, or kind of one of those. So it was a good experience. It's a really good experience to see the other talent throughout the country and California as well.
So the Mater Dei Monarchs, I did some research. It's a good program, and a couple guys drafted recently. A good program overall. So how did your time with the Monarchs and that specific program shape you into the player that you are today?
I mean, I was around a lot of really good players, and I know that just keeps getting brought up, but I played JV my freshman year, but I was on varsity. I just never gotten that bad. I was there as a backup because when I went into high school at Mater Dei, I was completely utility. I was a catcher. I was anywhere in the infield, outfield. So I was going up. I got all my bats on JV, and then didn't really get to play on varsity. But just being in the dugout with a lot of older guys. Brandon Perez was our shortstop. He was a senior when I was a freshman. He went to USC. There's a guy named Reese. He was a big captain. He was our captain. So there's a lot. And Josh Stevens, who got signed by the Phillies. I don't know if you probably read about him. Blake Hunt, who got signed by the Padres in 2017. Yeah. So there's a lot of really good talent and leadership. So that really formed who I was. And I think I had a good work ethic from a young age, just being shorter. And my parents told me, like, look, you're getting the short end of the stick. You're not very tall, so you're just gonna have to work even harder. And I kind of got that from my coach as well when I got there. Like, look, you're not very big, so if you want to play college ball, you're gonna have to really bust your butt. And I just put my nose down and worked. So I mean, yeah, the talent around Mater Dei built really helped grow me as a player and mentally as well.
So here in San Francisco, we have a couple high schools that have their rivalry game actually at Oracle Park. And
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, you had the chance to play at Angel Stadium
Mm-hmm.
in high school. So I know a lot of people that played in the Oracle Park game, and they pretty much said, hey, this is a special experience. So was it special for you? I'm sure it was. Describe that. I mean, it's awesome playing in a big league park, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's everyone's goal at the end of the day is if you're a baseball player, at the end of the day, you want to be in the big leagues. And being able in high school to get a feel for playing on a big league field, being in a stadium, being in that park, it's a cool experience. I know a lot of players never get the opportunity to do it. And if they don't make it to the big leagues, and if their high school gets opportunity like you guys did and we did too, I got to do it. That was awesome. And yeah, I mean, again, like you're playing on a big league park, but you always ask for nice facilities and a nice field, but this is the best it's going to get. So I mean, it's really cool to have the opportunity to do that. And when I was in high school, we did a Nike thing as well. So we're at Dodger Stadium as well, doing a little bit of a workout with a bunch of other high schools as well. And that was and I was really lucky in high school. We played games there, and Dodger Stadium got the opportunity to go work out there. But it was pretty cool. I mean, it feels different. You're playing on the same field as Angel State Mike Trout, right? You're standing in the same box as him. So yeah, it's definitely a really cool experience for anyone that gets it.
So you as a player, you were described in a lot of things as a utility guy, and I feel like those types of players get the reputation as scrappy and hard-nosed ball players. Do you like that role of having to move around?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's what's going to take us to win. I mean, that's when I went to Mater Dei is I want to go in as whatever opportunity I got on the field, I will play it to win. That's the same thing when I came to San Diego State is they told me when you go to summer ball coming up now in this summer, we wanted you to play second, short, third, and center. So we wanted you to be able to put a plug in anywhere, maybe a game. You play 2 games at short, and then you could go to center. So that's kind of like what we were at San Diego State. But, I mean, again, going into high school, I started that, but then it kind of plateaued out a little bit. When towards my end of my senior year, I played left field, a little bit of outfield, played second, and then at Oregon, I just played second. So, I mean, I still would do it. I like it. I mean, if that's what's going to take the win, I'll take that nickname and whatever they want to refer to me to, because at the end of the day, you play to win.
So give me a scouting report on yourself, player profile. What do you do on a baseball field that kind of puts you ahead of the curve?
Honestly, I think that what separates me is a mentality standpoint and a leadership standpoint. If you were to watch my game, you would probably be like, damn, this kid's really annoying, because I don't shut up when I'm playing on the field. And at least with Tinez at San Diego State, my head coach, communication was a big thing. What we preached when we got into season, at least in the middle of the infield, was talking is a big thing too, pre-pitch communication. So I think that's one of the things that, from besides skill point standpoint, is my mentality and kind of my leadership of my leadership skills is, I say, what kind of gets me ahead of the curve.
So I've seen pictures of you, and you play with high socks. I just think that's a super badass look for a baseball player. What's the thinking behind that?
Honestly, when I was younger, I could never find pants that could fit. So it ended up just getting scrunchies, and they would either be dirty mids or high pants. So, and I really like the look. One thing that I always talk about with my friends, and we always talk about, is imagine if we go back and play in the 50s and 60s or 80s or 90s, just go back in time machine and play. And I really dig old school baseball. And it's all like, and going back last week, talk about hard nose, like utility guys. That's kind of hard nose baseball is old school baseball. You see getting dirt lane for everything, getting dirty, running into people. I mean, again, that's getting bounced out with safety. But again, I think that's really cool, is that the old school baseball and the scrappiness is kind of from there, I'd say. And again, like my stature is just kind of what I am, and that kind of built me who I am. That's what the socks too is. My thing is look good, play good, and if my socks are up, that's my thing. I've always been a socks up guy, and it's kind of old school baseball. I really like it.
I like it. So post high school, you're ranked, a couple notes here, you're ranked 66th overall in the state, 13th among second basemen according to Perfect Game. So this grabs the attention of University of Oregon. So how excited did you get that they were willing to bring you in their baseball program?
It was awesome. So it was end of my freshman year going into my sophomore year summer. It's my first opportunity playing with the varsity team at Mater Dei, get my first at bats and really getting a feel for it over summer ball. And we were in Fresno in a tournament, and we were playing Buchanan High School. I think they were the national champions the year before. I want to say just based off my memory off a banner they had, but I played pretty well, and Jay Ullman was the coach at the time, and he talked to our head coach, and then I gave him a call, and kind of everything from there was history. And I got the opportunity to be the first commit in the 2018 class, and I went up there July 20th, 2015, and that's when I committed. Because again, the only cons were going to be the weather, and I don't mind the weather. So that was for me. Is I love the coaches, I love their mentality, facilities. So I was super excited to get the opportunity to play at Oregon and play for Coach Horton and Coach Ullman, Coach Dietrich, Mitch Carricker, all those guys. So it was a really good, really, really cool experience. And leading up to it, I was very excited.
So here's a question submitted from someone, and we'll get to more afterwards, but this one I figured I'd plug in here because it went with the theme. But Greg Marmo, he's a high school baseball player. He wants to know what the recruiting process was like and what were some tips on getting recruited.
Honestly, be the hardest working person. I mean, it sounds very cliche, and that's what everyone says when you ask about recruiting. But again, it's who's going to work harder and who's going to come down and perform at the end of the day. I mean, again, it's the recruiting process is based off your performances. So if you're performing well, you should have some options where to go, right? And if that's not the case, then maybe it's where you're at, and maybe you should. I mean, a lot of people recommend so cases. I would recommend doing just as many tournaments possible because, again, scouts are everywhere. Let me tell you, everywhere. Arizona tournaments. And I know some people really don't like travel ball or not fans of it, but at least and for me, a lot of kids get committed in travel ball, but for me, I was a high school. I got committed through my high school. So, I mean, I was always a high school first guy, and then I would go to travel ball. But I would say travel ball is a good thing too because, again, you never know who's going to be watching you. And that's another key is always work hard, always be on top of your stuff because, again, you never know who's watching. You never know who knows who, and word gets around. So just stay on top of your things, work hard, and grades. Grades is the last thing. Grades. That's a big thing. I was always a 3 flat in high school, and it clicked for me. I was able to really take classes that I enjoyed, and now I'm a 3.3, and I have a 3.6 right now this term. So, I mean, that's a big thing too is grades. Is coaches want to see good grades.
Mm-hmm, for sure. So during your freshman year at Oregon in 2019, you played a good amount of games. And so what was that experience like for you? You said you mostly played second base there. So how was your experience being an Oregon Duck?
Again, it was unreal. I mean, we came up short, and again, I didn't have the season I wanted to have offensively. But it was a really good experience for me because I got an opportunity to start as a freshman, and that's something you can't take for granted. I mean, there's nothing like starting at any college as a freshman, but especially in conference like the Pac-12 was a really good opportunity for me to see where I played out against other guys in the conference, and I got in my head last year. So, I mean, it was going back on it. If I could go back, I would fix it, but Oregon was a great experience and a great time for me, especially with the coaches up there. So it was a really good experience for me.
So you finished second in the nation in sacrifice bunts. So personally, I'm a PO, so I don't get up there that much. But when I do, I've laid down a good amount myself. So is that something that you take pride in doing with the sacrifice bunt category?
Yeah, I mean, again, so I'm more of I would drag a lot, but when I was just struggling, and my defense was solid enough to be able to keep playing every day, but my offense again was my biggest struggle. I just let myself get in my own head, taking fastballs, and that's kind of where I got put in a lot of positions where there's no one out, and I was in either the 8 or 9 spot. So there's no one out and guy on or 2 guys on, and baseball, I mean, you're going to get them over, right? So I just got put in a lot of positions where I could help my team out, lay down a bunt. But yeah, I mean, I take pride in it. I mean, I'll take pride in any part of the game that there is. So
another thing that really impressed me about you was you walked 24 times and struck out 26 times in 116 at bats. So that tells me kind of that you have a pretty good understanding of the strike zone. So do you see that as obviously it's a good hitting tool to have, putting the ball in play and showing off some patience at the plate. So what's your approach when you get in the batter's box? What do you look for? Of course, fastballs. Are you a guess hitter? Do you sit on stuff?
I mean, honestly, it kind of depends, honestly. I mean, sometimes I'll be looking for only fastballs. Again, my approach usually stays the same, but again, scouting reports and who are pitching. So if there's a guy that's a thumber and he's only throwing off speed, then you will throw a fastball in random counts. He doesn't really have a sequence of throwing a fastball in 0-2. You will just throw him randomly. Then, I mean, my approach is going to change. I'm going to be sitting on one of his off-speed pitches. But again, my approach will vary. And yeah, I do take pride in my walk to strikeout percentage as well, because again, I'm not a power hitter. I'm getting on base, so my power hitters can drive me in. We can win ball games. So my biggest thing is getting on base and being on base so that guys can drive me in. So yes, that's a big thing for me, is whether it's a walk or a knock or getting on, I don't care. I need to get on so that it gives our team an opportunity to win.
So you recently transferred to San Diego State University, and it's got a storied baseball history. Some info here: 10th in WAR among all-time 10th in WAR all-time among position players, 5th in WAR for pitchers among the last 5 years. Steven Strasburg, Tony Gwynn, just to name a few. What's it like to join that history of ball players?
It's pretty cool. It's you step on that field and you have banners on in right, and there's a big TG and there's a big Strasburg sign. So walking in there and knowing the path and legacy that greats have left and created for the program, it's a pretty cool thing just to walk into the locker room and clubhouse and work towards a national championship exactly how Tony Gwynn and Strasburg did when they were here. And again, that's just naming 2 guys. There's so many guys that went through this program and had a huge impact, whether that's making it to a regional or helping teams win every night or going to the big leagues or signing. So it's really cool going into a historic baseball program, especially one that has Tony Gwynn in it. And he is such a great baseball player and such a great coach and human being. So it's a really cool experience that I got to join this team.
So I know we talked about this out there, but a lot of players might want to transfer for whatever reason. So what's that process like? I know there's we talked off air about the weird transfer portal thing. So give us a perspective on the transferring.
I mean, so how it worked for me was when I decided to transfer on December 1st, 2019, I emailed our compliance office, say, hey, I want to transfer. I'd like to enter the portal. So I sent the email, got my paper back. All I had to do was sign it. And once you sign that paper, you're in the portal and you can't go back to that university. So right when you sign that paper, it's over. So I knew that this was the decision I wanted to do. So I put myself in the portal, and pretty quickly, I had a lot of traction from junior colleges, because that's usually the route you'll go if you're going out of a Division I. You go to JUCO and then back to a 4-year. But problem I ran into a little bit when I was just talking to JUCOs was that I had to take 29 credits. So that was a big thing for me too. Was it was a lot of classes. But again, if you have the opportunity to go back to D1, I wanted it, and especially there's only so many schools that I really wanted to go to when I entered that portal that were off the top of my head that I want to go to, and San Diego State was on the top of it. So I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking. I mean, you're leaving your teammates, you're leaving your brothers behind from another school, but again, at the end of the day, it's you're on your clock started. Once you start NCAA, you get to school, your clock is started. So It's no time to mess around.
So, I'm sure every player dreams about getting drafted. How often is that on your mind? How often do you think about that possibility?
I mean, it's always in the back of your mind. As a baseball player, it's all you want to do is sign and be given the opportunity to play in the big leagues and work your way up. But again, for me, I'm not going to be, unless I have some crazy numbers, I don't have the body that a lot of guys would want in the first round. So, I mean, or second. So, I mean, for me, my main focus has always been what's in front of me. So, I'm not eligible this year for the draft. I do think about next year when I'm eligible for the draft, but again, it's what's in front of me at the time. So if it's San Diego State right now, that's my focus. And then when the draft comes up and it presents itself, and if I'm given an opportunity to continue my baseball career, then I'll make that decision at that time. But again, it's what's in front of me.
So I think you mentioned how you're not a big guy, and we talked about the clubhouse chemistry per se. Out of all of that, what is the driving force in this game? So what keeps you going on a baseball field?
The love for the game. I mean, I fell in love with this game. I played soccer, played for like a year, played basketball for like one practice, and baseball is the only thing that I've stuck with. And I found it very, very early that this is something I love doing, and I enjoy going out there every day and doing it. And when the day comes that I don't love this game, then that's the day I'm going to hang up my cleats. But again, the driving force for me is the love of the game and winning. I love to win. I'm competitive. So whether that's ping pong with my mom or my dad, or getting out and playing in the national championship or whatever it is, best friend on the mound, it doesn't matter. I'm a competitor. So that's the driving force behind it, I would say.
So we got a couple to finish it off here. We got a couple viewer/listener questions here submitted. So started off with a fun one. You said you're a competitor. So Danilo wants to know, what would you do if there was a zombie apocalypse?
That's a great question. That's probably something that I would play by ear, honestly. I don't know. I've never played video games, but no one's ever been in a zombie apocalypse. You got to plan ahead for that. But, I mean, I'll just play it by ear, I guess. See what my options are at the time. But
yeah, there's no way to answer that question
now. That's a toughie. That's going to be a tough one to answer.
Here's another one from your buddy Keaton. You got a smile on your face already. So he wants to know, how tall is Max?
I'm 5'7", $165. Don't worry, I'll still fight Keen, still beat him anyways. So Keen was actually my roommate at Oregon. He's one of my closest friends. So that was, when you talk about leaving a school, that was really hard. Come on, Troubadour, stop that. Sorry,
Who's this right here? Who's this?
This is my dog, Troubadour. So I have 3 dogs. This is one of them. This is our only boy. So he's 4 years old. So he's the only boy, so he always comes to me. I got a younger brother, but he always comes to us when the 2 girls are mean to him. So, yeah, but I'm 5'7". Keenan's one of my best friends. He was my roommate at Oregon, right next to me in our apartment. And so, yeah, Keenan, hope you enjoyed my interview.
So last thing here, Greg Marmo yet again wants to know, just what are some of the best workouts for baseball players? I'll simplify that for you. What are some of your favorites that you do?
I mean, weight room. I just like lifting whatever kind of day it is. If whatever that day calls for, if I'm going lower body lift, I'll go with the squat. So it all depends. I mean, just kind of what I want. But for baseball wise, I'm a big T guy. I got the opportunity to I homeschooled, so I redid 8th grade. So I went 7th, 8th grade at my local middle school, and then I redid a grade because I was pretty young, and I want to stay back here. And then I knew that I just wasn't very big. I really skinny. Just knew that I wasn't ready for modern day baseball, or just if I wanted to excel, I needed time for my body to grow. I just was growing late, so I stayed back here, and that was one of the best decisions I've ever made, was give myself a year for my body to grow and to homeschool and be able to work out 6-7 days a week and really push myself and let my body grow into itself. So, I mean, it all depends, I mean, on it. So, I mean, T work is my biggest thing. I mean, that's what that 22-foot cage, you can only do so much. You can only do like T and flips in it. And I got a little ice screen that I have. So I mean, yeah, tee work is just a big thing for me. That's what I got to work with Sean Green, and he was in his career
Hmm.
in the big leagues. He was always a tee guy. He would travel with his tee, and so I was in eighth grade. I was my second year eighth grade, and hearing this, and like looking at a old big leaguer, a vet, and I'm like, okay, if this will work for him, then I'm gonna do it. And I ended up doing it. And when I hit with them, we would work on the tee for 35 minutes, whether that's swinging or just talking, kind of feel. So, I mean, I think tee's my favorite thing baseball drill to do is just tee work. I love hitting. I could stand outside and hit all day. So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Just traditional tee work, I think is the best. Is my favorite thing to just do.
All right, Maxwell Foxcroft. Remember the name, everybody. This guy's going places. Thanks for joining me, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.